You can draw this in Procreate, and you don't need any experience at all with drawing or with Procreate, and we'll just be using the brushes that are already in the app. So you don't need any extra brushes, but if you want extra brushes, then you should really go to freefromflow.com. But you can do that after you have watched this video all the way till the end. I will guide you through every single step, and once you are finished, do be sure to share your work on Instagram and tag me in the image, not just in the description. Then I will be able to find your work and perhaps we'll see it in the next video. First of all, the canvas. It's 2300 pixels by 3000 pixels, and I have created a color palette which you can download for free through the link in the description in case you want to use the exact same colors as I'm using during this tutorial. Do be sure to set your color profile to sRGB though. First thing we are going to do is set a color for our background. We'll go to the layer menu, click background color, and select this first color in the color palette. And then we'll switch to layer 1, go to the layer menu first, and then we'll pick this second color in the color palette. And for our brush, we are going to use the Monoline Brush. You can find it under calligraphy. And the first step is to draw a circle, and that's very easy in Procreate. Just draw a wobbly circle, hold your pen in place to make it snap to the quick shape, and then hold one finger on your screen to make it snap to a perfectly round circle. And once you've done that, you can drag in the color to fill your circle. I want to turn the shape into something like an abstract meteor or fireball, but first, let's move it around a little bit. We can go to the arrow here at the top. Let's move it down a little bit, perhaps a little bit to the left, so we have some room for our little extras. Let's click the brush first. The opacity of this brush is set to 100% and the size of this brush is 30%. And now we are going to start at the top to add these extras. First we'll follow the circle a bit, and then we'll add these like pointy thingies. They're a little bit rounded. Don't worry if you can't get them right straight away. You can just undo. You can either use the little arrow over here or tap with 2 fingers on your screen. But of course you can also adjust your shape a little bit using the brush, or you can use the eraser to erase some parts. But now let's just fill our shape by dragging in the color. Well, let's drag this over here to fill that gap. And we can add a little bit here. You can just refine that outline by using both the brush and the eraser. I feel like we can move it a little bit to the right. Let's go to the arrow again. And I want to center it a bit. If you have snapping turned on, right over here, if you have snapping turned on, you'll see an orange line as soon as you are in the center of your canvas. And when you go down, you can also see that horizontal line, then you are in the exact center of your canvas. But I want to go up a little bit, because at a later stage, I want to add a little drop shadow here at the bottom. And now we have more space for that. Let's click the arrow again to get out of here. The next step is to add a little gradient to our shape here. But to be sure that we won't be painting outside of the shape, we are going to set this layer to alpha lock. Click the layer, select alpha lock, and for our brush, we are going to use the soft brush, which you can find under airbrushing. And for the color, we will use this third color over here. The brush opacity is set to 70. And I have the size set to, well, let's go to 10%. And now we are going over that top area and add a little bit of this darker color there. Till we are about here. And then let's go over again to make that top part here even darker. Maybe once more. And now to smoothen this gradient, we can go to the magic wand here at the top, click Gaussian blur, and then set it to layer. Now when you drag your pen to the right or your finger on the screen, you will see that the Gaussian blur percentage is going up. And let's go to something like 27%. And then you can just click the magic wand again to get out of there. Now we are going to add some hills to our scene. And we are going to do that on a new layer. So we'll click the plus. And we want these hills to only show up on that shape that we have just created. And to do that, we'll click this new layer and select clipping mask. Now it's clipped to our shape, and whatever we paint here will only show up on that shape. So let's go back. Let's go back to the Monoline Brush under calligraphy. And for the color, we will pick this first color over here. And we are going to start here at the bottom, a little bit left of the center. And we'll make a wobbly line going up all the way to here. And then we'll loop back underneath to close our shape. Because if we don't close it, when we drag in our color, it'll spill all over the canvas. Alright, let's create another hill. We are going to do that on a layer underneath that layer that we just created because we are working towards the background. So first click layer 1. Then click the plus, and as you can see, it is automatically clipped to our layer 1. And for the color, we are going to pick the second color over here. And then we'll make another wobbly line. We'll start about here. And then wobble our way to the bottom here. And again, make sure to loop around to close your shape. And then drag in the color to fill it. Now we'll repeat this step. We'll go to layer 1 again, click the plus for a new layer, and we'll go to the next color, the third one over here. We'll start about here, about halfway of that left hill. And we'll make another wobbly line going up to about here. And again, loop around, close your shape, and drag in the color. And another one. Again, click layer 1 first, then the plus for a new layer, and then go to the next color. That's the fourth color this time. Now we'll start a little bit higher here and make a wobbly line to here, then loop around. This is a bit of a smaller hill. Drag in the color to fill it, and then repeat the step. Click layer 1, click the plus, and pick the next color. We are here at the fifth color, and we'll start here on the left side, about, well, a little bit lower than this hill on the right, about here. We'll wobble up, and then we'll go down, and then we'll go up here, make a little wobble, and another wobble over here. And don't forget to loop around and close your shape before you fill it. Now, the last one, let's again click layer 1, then click the plus, and then pick the last color over here. And let's make a nice hill. Here in the back, we'll start about halfway of this hill, wobble our way up, I'll wobble down a little bit, add some interest to this hill or mountain. And again, don't forget to loop around and close your shape and then drag in the color to fill it. I want to add a little bit of texture to the edges of these hills. And we'll do that by going to the artistic brushes and using the Untitled brush. And we'll set it to the color of the hill we will be working on. We'll start in the front. So let's pick that dark color. And let's select that top layer. I have the brush opacity set to 100%. And let's set the size nice and small. Let's go for 2%. And then let's just go over the edges, adding a little bit of texture as if you can see some trees over there. Just go along the edge, gently adding that texture. And then we'll do the same for the next layer, the one underneath, and we'll pick the next color so that it'll match. Again, just go over the edge, adding a slight texture. Then we'll go to the next one, next color, And of course the next layer, layer 4, don't forget to switch your layer. And just go over the edge. And also don't forget that if you are enjoying this video, then you can click that little thumbs up right underneath the video. Let's go to layer 5 now. And then to the next color. That's, that's this one, the 4th color. Shouldn't be mixing that up. Let's go over the edge. Like that. And then finally we'll do layer 6. And then we do need that 5th color. If you want to learn more about the fundamentals of painting digitally, if you want to learn more, go more in depth, then you can check out my Patreon page. There I share a lot more tutorials about Procreate and digital painting. And I also share a lot of brushes there. Now that we have added this texture, we are going to add a little bit of mist on these layers. We'll start with the one in the back, layer 7. And we'll switch to the soft brush, which you can find under artistic. And we will use this color over here, that 2nd color here at the top. Let's make the brush a little bit bigger. Let's go for 12%. And let's just go over the bottom area of that mountain, slightly lightening that up. And we'll do that for each of these hills. So now we'll switch to layer 6. And we'll go over that bottom area there. And you can leave these because they are a lot higher. You can see that this light, it's over here. And it wouldn't show up there. So leave that part alone. Then we'll go to layer 5. Add a slight mist there. Don't go over the top. Then we'll go to layer 4. And we'll add a little bit of light here as well. Now for these two in the front, I want to pick a bit of a darker color. First, let's click layer 3. And then let's go for this 3rd color over here to make it a bit more subtle over there. Let's go over the bottom area. Adding some nice warm mist. Then we'll go to layer 2. And add mist there as well, just a little bit. Now let's add a moon to our scene. We are going to the layer menu and we want our moon to be behind our hills. So we'll have to click layer 1 first, and then we'll click the plus for a new layer. And for our brush, we will go back to the Monoline Brush under calligraphy. And we will pick this first color in the color palette. And we will draw a circle again. Just like that, hold your pen in place, make it snap to a quick shape, and then hold one finger on your screen to make it snap to that perfectly round circle. And then drag in your color. And of course you can go to the arrow tool, move it around, make sure that it's centered. If you have snapping turned on, that is. I want to move it up just a little bit. I think this is nice. Let's click the arrow to get out of there, and let's add a little bit of texture to our moon. Now again, if you want to make sure that the texture you'll be painting won't show up outside of your circle, you have to click the layer and set it to alpha lock. Now the pixels on this layer are locked. You can see that little like checkerboard pattern around it. You won't be able to paint there. It'll only show up on that circle. And that's great. That's exactly what we want. First, we are going to pick a different brush. We are going to the textures brushes. We are going to use the Dove Lake. I had to think a little while. Let's use the Dove Lake and pick this color over here. That's slightly darker than our moon. I have the opacity of the brush set to 100% and the size is 21%. Let's go over the moon just slightly to add a little, well, a very subtle texture. Perhaps you can't even see it on the video. I don't know. Let's switch to the 3rd color now. just to add a little bit of darker texture. Just here in the bottom area, like that. I want to keep it subtle here. Now we can also use the industrial brushes. Well, at least one of them. We'll be using the Wasteland Brush. And this is also set to 100% opacity. And I have the size set to 12%. And let's go over this area again. And just add a little bit of texture. Now we can also add some stars to our scene. Let's click layer 1 again first, and then click the plus for a new layer. And for our brush, we are going to the luminance brushes and use the light pen. And we'll pick that light color again, that first color in the color palette. I have the opacity set to 75%. And the size is at 35%. And now let's just add some random stars. And if you press hard, at least if you have a pressure sensitive pen, then your stars will be bigger. And if you press lightly, they will be smaller. I'll just place a few around the top area of our shape. Now finally, for our final touch, let's add a little bit of a shadow to the bottom. First, we'll click layer 2 before we click the plus for a new layer, and we'll drag this new layer all the way to the bottom. Then we'll go to the brushes and use the soft brush again. And for the color, we will use this color here at the bottom. Then let's make our brush a little bit smaller. Let's go for, let's say 5%. And we'll add a little bit of a shadow here at the bottom. Make these horizontal strokes. Make it a bit rounded, a little bit of an oval. You can make it a bit darker here in the center. You can make multiple brush strokes. And once you have something that looks a bit similar to this, then go to the magic wand and pick Gaussian blur. Set it to layer and then slide to the right again. And let's go for 19.4%. And then click the magic wand again. And there you have created a super easy stylized landscape in Procreate. Now don't forget to go and share your results and to tell me if you have enjoyed following this tutorial. And like I said, don't forget that little thumbs up to support this channel. I am looking forward to seeing you next week for the next You Can Draw This video tutorial.